Hey guys, we're in Oak Ridge, Tennessee today, and we are at John Hendricks Memorial Prayer Walk Trail. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about him. What I know is he's called the Prophet of Oak Ridge. Reason being is back in the turn of the century, he he lived over around the Bull Ridge, Claxton area where the Bull steam plant is, if anybody's familiar with that. Um, I'll read this to you. It says, sometime in the late, I don't know why it's getting so close. There we go. Sometimes in the late 1800s, a young man named John Hendricks brought his new wife, Julia Ann Griffith, up Lupton Road and claimed this piece of property for his new home. Over the next several years, they built a house, a barn, and a hen house, and a smokehouse. They planted fruit orchards and peaches, apples, and pears. They planted forsythia, lilac, flowering almond, and rose bushes. John worked in the community, clearing land and building fences. There was no electricity, no bathrooms or sinks, no comfortable heat or air conditioning, and no automobiles. The split rail fences, fruit trees, lilac bushes, rose bushes you will see along this trail are reminiscent of those days. John and Julia Ann had 4 children: Jessie, Elsie, Leela, and Ethel. The children enjoyed simple games, learned to read and write, helped around the farm, and took care of their younger sisters. Then, one winter around the turn of the century, this family suffered a terrible loss. The youngest daughter, Ethel, died from diphtheria. Julia Ann was overcome with grief and decided she wanted to leave the farm. So she took the remaining 3 children and moved to Arkansas. John never saw them again. He was left on this farm to carry the grief of the tragedy all alone. And from what I have heard, um, look at there, little creek. He had spanked her the day before that she had gotten sick, little Ethel. And that's why his wife kind of wanted to blame him. It's really pretty. Oh boy, we got dogs. Well, you see where we're at. He don't look like he's too friendly. But anyway, it's a nature rock. It's okay, buddy. It's okay.
We're gonna hurt you.
So we're just walking. It's okay. If you don't care, let me kind of get in front of you. That way I can. Yeah. It's right in the middle of a subdivision, apartment complexes. So we're just gonna try to stroll on down here. Sweet little nature rock. Look at that. Isn't that pretty?
Oh. Be careful, it's slick.
Well, Greg's about busted his hind end. So let's see. I guess we go this way. All right. So I'm gonna take y'all along. We're heading to where he's buried. I don't know how long it is to walk it, but it's a nice morning. It stormed all night last night. Rained pretty hard, so you can see the creeks up. But that is absolutely beautiful. If it wasn't for the sounds in the background of cars and trucks, it would be awesome. So here's another marker. This is Creekside Rest. Sometimes people turn to the Lord for comfort in time of trouble, and that's what John did. He became very devoted to God, took long walks praying here in this woods. Maybe he would sit and rest on one of the rocks here beside the creek. No doubt, at times he would bury his tear-flooded face in his hands, asking the Lord why he was going through all this. As the story goes, One day, while he was on one of those prayer walks, John was suddenly interrupted by the audible voice of God. The voice he described as thunderous told John that if he would lie with his head on the ground for 40 nights, God would tell him the future of this land. This must have seemed like a crazy thing to do, but people in the Bible were asked to do things more unusual than this. So, for 40 nights, John endured a cold, comfortable sleep on the ground. Mary Ann Johnson, over in New Hope Gap, heard about him and brought him food. Another neighbor was on her way to take some milk to Mrs. Grubbs and found John frozen, or with his hair frozen to the ground. She brought a blanket and covered him up. It's said that the sounds of his prayers would make your hair stand on end. Afterward, John found the sacrifice to be more rewarding than he could ever imagine. So, he may have sit on that rock right there and rested and prayed. Just the sounds at that time of the creek, the birds, the scurrying of little animals. You will hear a lot of, unfortunately, things around here because there is, we can cut back through there when we get ready to leave. Without the sounds of all the automobiles, I guess you could hear a lot of things here. You hear God speak. So let's just keep going. It is quite muddy right through here, but that's okay. I gotta change the shoes. Go around this way. There we go. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Oh, spider web. Ugh. I'll take you over here and let you look at this. Down here. Isn't that peaceful? So peaceful. So poor old John walked these areas, praying, pleading, not understanding why God puts us through trials sometimes. But there's reasons behind that we don't understand, may never understand. But he kept his faith. He kept going. Yeah, it's pretty flooded bad right through here. You can see on the trail. Hope I'm not making y'all dizzy. Okay. I'm looking for another marker. Boy, it is. My feet's gonna get wet on that one. Oh, more spider webs. I should have brought a stick. Okay, I see another marker up ahead. Oh yeah, it's flooded bad. That's okay. Wow, okay. This, looky here, guys. I should have worn my boots. Or you could run right over there and get them.
We got company. Look.
Who?
On the ground.
Oh, okay. Okay, we'll get him in just a minute. Don't scare him. Okay. So the trail marker, the old wagon. These two dirt ruts crossing the path to your right were one of the Hendrix's old wagon roads. It led to Lupton Road, where small churches and country stores provided a place for neighbors to keep up with the latest news. After John completed his 40 nights on the ground, he made his way out into the community looking scruffy with his beard grown long. Excitedly, John related how he had seen visions and how God had showed him the future of his community. John began telling everyone that the following things would happen. Bear Creek Valley will someday be filled with great buildings and factories, that they will help toward winning one of the greatest wars that will ever be. Big engines will dig ditches, and thousands of people will be running to and fro. They will be building things. There will be a city built here along Black Oak Ridge, and the seat of authority will be on a spot midway between Sevier Tadlock's farm and Joe Pyatt's place. A railroad line will branch off the main L&N. It will run by Joe Cox's place at Edgemore and run by Tom Braden's farm down to Katie Worthington's place at Eliza. They'll build a bridge across the Clinch River at the lower point of Bradley's Bluff that will tunnel through Black Oak Ridge and sink the Butcher Spring. A spur will branch off and run through Robertsonville right beside my farm, then turn and run through Scarborough. It will serve a great city. I've seen this in my visions, and there will be great noise and confusion, and the earth will shake. John also foretold world progress, such as the invention of airplanes, enabling freight to be carried by air. He said that limestone would later be used as fertilizer. He named the people around him that would be alive to see it happen, and named the people who would not be alive, including himself. Two of his grandchildren, Bruce Hendricks and Fay Hendricks Childs, remembers being shown the trees he noticed, or he notched with his axe, indicating the railroad lines which would run beside his farm. I've seen it. It's coming, he said with unshakable confidence. So there's the wagon, and they said that was the trail. And we got a little friend visiting, or we're visiting this little friend. Hello. Hello. I'm not going to bother you. I'm going to leave you alone. All right, let's go on down the trail because I'm not sure how far. Right over here, I guess, would be the wagon trail.
It could be.
Because there's creeks over there up to his home. Let's see. Let's go on around. I hope you guys are staying with me. I'm having to get kind of over the wood. It's pretty flooded, pretty bad. But, okay, here we go. Clearing out a little bit more. Oh, got another bridge coming up. Oh, I guess we could have parked right there, but we didn't know. Anyway, there's another bridge going over the creek. What a nice little nature walk. Okay, I'm not sure which way to go, but I'm going to go straight. Somebody's put a bench out here, and here's another marker. Okay. So, the Healing Springs Bridge. The first of John's prophecies came true just 18 months later. The L&N Railroad had planned to run new railways through Clinton, but because of political problems, changed their plans and ran the railroad tracks through the Edgemore and Elza communities. They had to dig a tunnel through Black Oak Ridge, just like John said. A spring in the mountain collapsed as a result of the construction. A train still barrels through the mountain right here in Oak Ridge every day. Over the next years, John encountered a lot of different responses from people in the community over the visions and prophecies. The community knew how he would walk the woods praying, so they nicknamed him the prophet. Some people were amazed by his stories of hearing God and having visions. Others were skeptical and called him crazy. 9-year-old James Braden got his last spanking he ever got from his mother for believing what he heard. John's prophecy at New Hope Church. But John continued to live in uncommon personal closeness to the Lord. Through the relationship with a loving God, his heart was comforted from all his losses.
Watch this bridge.
Yeah, this bridge is...
You go first this time?
Whoa. Yeah, I'm going to let you go first, just in case you slip and fall. I can get that on video. Go.
Very funny.
Dun, dun, dun. Well, don't shake it. Okay.
Slow and easy.
All right. We're still crossing bridges. I got it. Thank you. We're going to keep on walking. Yeah, I mean, we're right in the midst of, like, there's apartments over there, if you can see them. There's apartments over there. And so we're just walking straight down the middle. While watching for varmints. Okay, got another bridge coming up. I hope you enjoy this prayer walk with us. I can imagine. I mean, prayer walking is a great thing to do. Okay, there is a... I'm going to stay on this side because that's a rotten place right there. Okay, what's it say right here?
Trail markers 5 and 7. This one, circle.
Oh, because it's going to circle around, so we're going to go... Oh, maybe not.
Wait a minute, let's see.
There's a lot of... There's a creek running down this way. I see a trail marker over there.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just cross over. We're good. Okay, I got to find the trail markers. We got to complete our prayer walk. And wear waders next time.
Yeah.
Watch out. Oh, goodness gracious. I'm trying to go fast, so I hope I'm not making you dizzy. But that's what I'm trying to avoid. That is a creek. And a lot of poison ivy. And somebody's garbage can. Oh, man. Okay. Looks like somebody's tried to build a little garden bed. I'm hoping it's circling around. Well, spiderwebs. Ugh. Okay. Trail markers 6 and 7 is up this way. Okay, it's dried up a little bit now. Go a little bit faster. Okay, I do see a marker coming up. It's kind of awkward when you're in somebody's backyard. Okay. Now this one, you get over here. Heritage Drive exit. In 1914-1950, sickness hit the community hard. 2 of Maul's daughters had already died, and now John was sick too. He predicted that he would not be alive to see most of his visions become reality. He'd been right. John continued to be very ill, and his stepdaughter Parley cared for him during his last months of his life. I lost my place. But John never gave up his faith. When he was breathing his last breath, he told Parley, "I'm going to be with the angels." Then he died. It was June 2nd, 1915. John asked and buried him on the top of the hill overlooking his orchards. Jim Garrison, I think it's Garrison,
Yeah, I think it's good.
and other neighbors came and buried him there. Curtis planted a boxwood at his daddy's grave so that they would always know exactly where he was. Years later, when John Hendricks' vision became a reality, he became known as the Prophet of Oak Ridge. The government coincidentally numbered his grave cemetery 40, reminiscent of his 40 nights laying on the ground, and 40 years that passed before the visions were fulfilled. His grave's still there, situated to the left of the backyard fence of 127 Hendricks Drive. The boxwood is still there with an updated gravestone. And then we got a Bible verse, Amos 3:7. The Bible says that God does nothing without first telling his servants, the prophets. Many Christians today believe that God will speak to us through his word, through dreams and visions, in quiet whispers, and in many other mysterious ways. Do you believe this? And will you listen? Trees. Now, we're going around here, and there's another bench right here. Little did John Hendricks know that over 40 years following the time of his visions, the world stage would be set for something bigger than anyone could ever anticipated. Knowledge in physics was expanding, and technology advancing were being made, while the political climate on the other side of the world was staring with unrest. Then suddenly, in the middle of World War II, every family here and in neighboring communities received a letter from the U.S. government, and it said, "The War Department intends to take possession of your farm on December the 1st, 1942. It will be necessary for you to move not later than this date." Every family, including those on the Hendricks farm, grieved that they struggled to pack up and move to another home with only a few short weeks. Large fences were then constructed over the 52,000 acres, which were seized through the law of eminent domain. U.S. Army guards were posted at the gates, what was quickly becoming mysteriously the secret city. Over the next 3 years, all of John's vision became reality. The railroad track you see ahead was built beside his farm just like he predicted. The Atomic Energy Commission built their administration buildings between Sabir Tadlock's farm and Joe Pyatt's place. The Y-12 plant was constructed in Bear Creek Valley with 9 huge buildings, where cauldrons produced enriched uranium-235 for the use of the first atomic bomb. Airplanes had been invented and were used to drop the atomic bombs, which caused the earth to shake, and the confusion of a loud noise, which John had seen in his vision. The old communities were gone, and a completely new community was established in its place. The city of Oak Ridge was built with hundreds of houses along the Black Oak Ridge. Thousands of people moved here to build things, such as Merrill Garrison from Illinois and his wife Mickey, with their children Shirley, Beverly, and Gary, and Spencer Finch from West Tennessee, his wife Willie, and their children Stanley, Larry, Peggy, and Alan. Though Curtis Hendrick had to move his family from the farm, he came back and worked on a secret project. He is recorded as saying, "I'm glad the Flatwoods country is helping knock the props from under Hitler and his gang. He can't stand it much longer. If whatever they make at Y-12 is as Uncle Bill Cheshire's moonshine used to be, goodbye Hitler." Many other people came also to run businesses, schools, healthcare, and churches. Reverend and Mrs. C.M. Newman came to begin the Oak Ridge Church of God, a church that believes in God given visions. Years later, their daughter Betty and husband James Bandy became the pastors at the same church. Dolores D. Young became the first Michigan here from Michigan to work on August 6, 1945, the day the first atomic bomb was dropped. With a conviction that seemed to come from outside herself, she explained, "This has changed the world. Man has delved too deeply into these things that belong to God." And she was right. The world did change because of the crimes committed against the Jewish people during the war. Just 3 years later, Israel became a nation. And again, for the first time in over 1,800 years, the world never been the same, and the Bible prophecy was unfolded without stop. Grace Raby Crawford, John's stepdaughter and co-author of the Black Oak Ridge, later said, "We who left our homes hold no resentment. We are proud of the great part it had in the winning of World War II and feel that we did not sacrifice our homes in vain. What took place here was become known as the Manhattan Project and is considered to have been one of the greatest accomplishments of the 20th century. Like John predicted, it did help toward winning one of the greatest wars that will ever be. But that's not all it did." D. Ray Smith of Wychwell historian recapped Oak Ridge World impact in saying, "The Manhattan Project was not just about the atomic bomb. It was a seminal event of the 20th century that preceded literally thousands of scientific and technology advances beneficial to mankind. For nuclear energy to integrate circuit from atomic bombs by medical isotopes, that Manhattan Project cauldrons have been the first ever equipment to bring the world these new achievements." I know that was a long thing to read, but what's the point in coming here if I can't read it? And I still don't see.
I think we have to double back.
We have to double back.
Yeah.
Okay, so several houses were constructed on the farm as the years went by. John's original house consisted of one oblong-shaped room. All indoor family life took place in that one room. From sleeping to praying to sewing to cooking and eating, his stepson Andrew Gregory later added 2 rooms so his family could stay there too. They were able to get tin roof put on the addition and had a kitchen with a wood-burning stove and dining table. Other furnishings in the house included a pie safe and a spinning wheel. That house was located at the west of what is now the corner of Heritage Drive and Hardwick Place. 3 more sites were built around the farm. Parley and her husband Perry Raby moved a house from another farm over to the west of the farm. Beulah and her husband Sam Taylor built another house to the east. Lizzie and her husband William Law built a house on the spot in front of you. The house cover you see here is called common periwinkle. Wait a minute. The ground cover. Okay, so see that I'm right. It is periwinkle. That's what kept the weeds down. Okay. So this was used like grass in the yard. Later, Curtis and his wife Lindy moved into the house that was here when it became available. They raised their children here. Each home site also had smaller buildings constructed around their main houses, such as barns, hog pens, hen houses, corn cribs, and dairy houses, smokehouses, and outhouses. Rocks were gathered and stacked up for the use of the foundation for the buildings. The kids would get splinters in their feet from the rough wood planks used on the floor. The Hendricks farm was also known as the Flatwoods, and the larger community was known as Robertsville. Members of these families still live in East Tennessee area. The creek which you have crossed along this trail is called Hendricks Creek, and this subdivision is named the Hendricks Creek Subdivision, both after the legacy of John Hendricks. So yeah, you see the periwinkle. We got some benches. I guess we have to double back here. There's nowhere to go but in that person's yard, so let's go on around. I'll try to go a little faster. I know we're heading on 30 minutes, but it's really worth it. Look how pretty that is. You might can hear me walking. Listen to the birds. Pulling spider webs out of my hair as we're walking. Because I'm trying to look and see if there's anything I might be stepping on a varmint. And I sure in the heck don't want to do that. And not looking for spider webs. Okay, I see another marker. I hope you're not too bored. I see some more periwinkle coming up. Like we've said in previous videos, you know, they planted it. It's not native. Uh-oh, there's some deer scat. It's not native to North America, but it did its job. Okay, John's new family and life on the farm. All right, we should have went this way because this is talking about when he basically remarried in 1908 to Martha Jane Gregory, who was called Ma. He came to this area.
She did.
She came to this area with 7 children from the foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains. She was a devout Christian. A year after they got married, an 8th child was born. They named him Curtis. Ma and the kids made the farm a lively place again over the next 35 years. They didn't make much money, though there wasn't much cash in those days. The men would walk to work on neighboring farms to construct buildings, saw logs, and help other crops. Sometimes they would gather a basket of fruit to trade on James Ford's Rolling Stone store, which carried trade items from farm to farm. When the cream rose to the top of the milk, they would skim it off, set it in the Coal Creek's creamery can. The creamery company would pick it up, pay the family for it. Other times, chickens were sold to Nash Copeland for little money. Keeping the family fed was the #1 priority of every day. Each year, they would work to trade and buy a hog, and I think there's something on my shoulder. The whole family pitched in to help with the work. There was no running water in that day except for the children running to get the water from the spring, recalls May Gregory Weaver, who remembers carrying a bucket in each hand through the orchard, past the barn, and back to the house, trying not to spill it. There's no such thing as a refrigerator, so the family would store milk in the crocks set down in the cold spring water. The natural spring would have been the reason John chose this particular spot for his homestead. A water source meant life or death. The natural spring still flows today in the front yard of 108 Holbrook Lane. It's something on me. Sorry, guys, I've got something crawling. I don't know what happened to it, but it was crawling. I'm going to just skip down here. They collected rainwater. The Hendricks family also maintained a strong devotion to God. They would read their Bible and pray often. When they found a way to travel, they would attend church. Below are excerpts from the letters Curtis wrote to his mother years later. And I'm going to put that up. Maybe you can pause the video and read it, but that was Curtis writing to his mother.
And part of it was from Exodus.
Yeah. All right, let's go on down. I guess that's part of the spring, you know? It's just rising up there. Spring is right through here. And now we're back to the mud and spider webs. Hang on just a minute. Try not to. This way, oh, trail marker 8 is out. Oh, man. Are you kidding me? You mean we came all this way?
We parked it on downstream.
Well, I don't know. Oh, man, the bridge is out. Dang it.
And I think I see, that's a tree. Is it a tree stump or is that a tombstone?
I don't know. Let's see.
I think it's a tree stump.
I can't tell, guys. Man. Let's see.
Rob, don't do it. Don't do it.
Dang it, I didn't come over here just to give up.
I know.
That makes me so mad.
I'm gonna cross right over there.
I don't think we can cross at all.
I'm gonna get over here.
No,
I'm gonna try.
we're going to try to go up the trail just a little bit and see if we can cross at a different place, maybe jump the creek. I doubt it, but that's disheartening. Do you see that? Well, guys, I will post a picture of the tombstone. But we had some interesting reeds. I don't think we can cross right there. I'm not going to risk getting wet, falling in a creek. Okay, let's see. No, I'm trying to find a place that maybe we can get to the other side. But that's a rock ledge over there. There's no way. Well, okay, that's somebody's yard.
Yeah, that's
Can't get over there. So we was very, very close. Golly. That's like the telling a joke and couldn't remember the punchline. Sorry, guys. Just ran into a wet tree. Yeah. I'm sorry, but I will post a picture of his gravesite, and I think it was just a couple of feet from us, but the bridge is out. Didn't have a clue. So I hope you enjoyed this little prayer walk that we took. A lot of interesting things. You know, I've always heard that, you know, a lot of people call themselves prophets, but unless their prophecies come true, they're not really prophets. So this man must have seen something. And I do believe it is true that he, you know, God spoke to him, and because everything that he said, where it was going to be located and all of that. You think we can get through that way?
Let's try it.
Okay, we're going to go up this little thing anyway. Anyway, the railroad coming in, the spring, you know, all of that. It's all foretold. We're going to go up this little trail. It came true. So, you know, in our times of grief, like poor John was, it is going into someone's backyard. I'm not going there. No. Everything that came true, exactly where he said it was going to be, that tells me that God gave him a vision. So, remember his name. You can look it up on the internet. Everything that I read about is called The Prophet of John Hendricks of Oak Ridge. John Hendricks, sorry. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm so sorry. I had not a clue. Where are we at? Well, we just walked out through here. Anyway, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe and share. And I'll put some pictures up that I can find on this video, hopefully, if I can figure out how to do it. And I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.